Yes. Are you going to ask this in Latin?
Seek.
Yes. Thus. Yes.
Now, before I ask the question, I have to say I agree with everything I've heard you say.
Thank God. Okay. All right.
But,
I couldn't tell by the way you were sitting.
yeah.
Yeah.
And although my ego's resistance was coming in a little bit I was tired, and every once in a while maybe the room was a little warm, but I've often.
That's a nice way of saying he's sitting in the front row and he gets all the hot air spewing forth from the speaker.
But I guess what I was thinking about was synchronicity, kind of the idea that we're talking about specialness today, that the world can have its uses, that the idea of synchronicity, a wink from the divine or something within in life, that in spite of the falseness of the world, the fact that we've been given the course, that I've been given the course, to me, sometimes I would think that would be some kind of a manifestation of divine grace, that within the falseness there can be maybe better falseness and worse falseness. But every once in a while there's something beautiful that seems to happen. What do you think about those kind of diffuse meditations?
Okay. All right. Actually, that's a good segue into what I wanted to talk about. So, let me read you a brief passage that'll kind of be a good introduction. I read this every once in a while. It's in the Teacher's Manual, page 18. Paragraph 2. Page 18 in the Teacher's Manual, paragraph 2. This is really addressing why it appears that things in the world help and work. All right? And again, I'll use this as a segue into talking about what I want to talk about. All right. the context of this is sickness, physical sickness. All right, so paragraph 2, sentence 8. Special agents seem to be ministering to him. So special agents would be, in the context of sickness, would be medication or surgery or anything that you do that you feel is helping you. Special agents seem to be ministering to him, yet they but give form to his own choice. All right. Now, the your or his that is referred to, just as all the pronouns in the course, especially you, always refer to the mind, because there is no body. So when it says special agents seem to be ministering to him, yet they give form to his own choice. Bodies don't choose. Bodies, being fundamentally unreal, don't do anything. So what chooses is the mind. So the one who chooses is the decision-making mind. All right. So when a special agent seems to be helping me, it's simply giving form to my right-minded choice that says, I don't want these symptoms anymore. All right, let me read more and then I'll extrapolate from this. He chooses them. The decision-making mind chooses these external agents in order to bring tangible form to his desires. His desires are what the mind wants. Do I want a thought system of pain, suffering, guilt, or do I want a thought system of peace, forgiveness, and healing? Those are the only two things you could desire. He chooses them. He chooses them in order to bring tangible form to his desires. And it is this they do and nothing else. They are not actually needed at all. Right. Because I'm so afraid of being a mind, I believe the only way that my body can be helped is by taking a pill. All right, so that because I'm so afraid of being a mind, all right, for the reasons that we discussed earlier, if I'm a mind, I'm a decision-making mind. If I'm a decision-making mind, I could recognize that I chose the wrong horse, the one that died in the starting gate. And I would choose again. Well, that's all well and good, but I identify with that horse. Pretending I'm alive. So therefore, I'm afraid of the power of my mind to choose, because it could choose against my special identity. So I'm afraid of the mind. So my mind chooses to be sick. Right? And then I decide, well, that's silly. Why should I put myself through pain? I don't deserve to be sick. So my mind now chooses to be well. But because I'm afraid of being a mind, I say it's all about the body. So I say, but if I take this pill, or if I do procedure X or behavior X, I'll feel better. And so I do procedure X, or I take the pill, and I feel better. And I say, I feel better because I took the pill. But that's a lie. I feel better because my mind chose to give up the projection of my guilt that took the form of a physical symptom. So again, special agents seem to be ministering to him, but they would give form to his own choice. He chooses them in order to bring tangible form to his desires, because he's afraid of the power of his mind to choose. So now, in terms of Anthony's question, all right? I choose to be wrong-minded. My mind chooses to be with my ego and to be guilty and to live in a world of darkness. And live in a world in which I am God instead of the true God. All right? And so my body and my experience in the world kind of wallows in the darkness of not having faith and not having any hope, and feeling lost and depressed and not seeing any point in being here, etc. And then my mind looks at the dead horse and says, this is silly. I don't want to be a dead horse. I want to go back home. And I become right-minded. But because I'm still afraid of being a mind, my right-minded choice takes the form of finding A Course in Miracles, or what you described as grace. And so I think an external God has bestowed his grace on me, or I think that somehow Jesus gave me A Course in Miracles. All right, none of that is true, because there's nothing outside of me. What happened is that A Course in Miracles came into my life to give form, to give tangible form to my own decision. Which means everything happens in the mind. Does that help? Okay. All right, let me just use this as now a springboard to talk about what I want to talk about. We spent the first hour and a half talking about special relationships and how we act them out, etc. And even though what I'm saying now was implied in what I was saying earlier, I really want to focus on it because this is what's really important. And then I want to talk about how this understanding of what I'm now going to say will reflect itself in how we live our lives. Because if it doesn't do that, it doesn't make any sense. I mean, it doesn't have any value to us. I frequently make the point that is implied in the Course, but typically the words say something else. Right? And that is, since there is no world out here, and there is nothing outside of our minds because ideas leave not their source. This is kind of a central teaching of the Course. Ideas leave not their source. The idea of Christ never left his source in God, which means there's no separation. Separation means ideas do leave their source and can then set up an independent reality outside of their source. But if ideas do not leave their source, which is the Holy Spirit's atonement principle, then nothing happened. All right. Now take that principle and now apply it to our lives here within the dream. To say that I can project my thought system out into the world is to say ideas leave their source. The thought system of separation, the thought system of sin, guilt, and fear can actually leave my mind and make up a world, both collectively in terms of the whole cosmos, but also individually in terms of my own personal life. And I actually believe that I exist here because ideas leave their source. The dream can leave the mind of the dreamer. So I can go to sleep at night, have a dream, and all of a sudden the dream becomes reality. Not just reality within my mind, but it now becomes reality. And I forget that I'm dreaming, and now I live out the dream. Well, that's what we all did on a cosmic level. We're living out a dream of separation in all the forms and variations that that thought has taken. You know, the whole cosmos, billions of years, you know. But if ideas leave not their source, there's nothing here. This is all one gigantic dream. that within the dream has fragmented into billions and billions of little dreams. And each dream seems to be its own reality. But in truth, it has not left its source. So let me read you this is what I quoted from earlier today. It's page 372 in the text. And while the principal ideas leave not their source is not articulated here, it is what is in back of the passage I'm going to read to you. This is page 372 in the text, paragraph 4, the bottom of the page. You who believe that God is sphere made but one substitution. It has taken many forms because it was the substitution of illusion for truth, of fragmentation for wholeness. That substitution is our original decision for the ego over God. We substituted the ego's thought system of separation for God's thought system of perfect oneness. We substituted the ego's self for the glorious uppercase self that God created. We substituted special love for God's love, which is perfect oneness. All right, so that's what this is. All right, this era of having chosen the ego in the mind has become so splintered and subdivided and divided again over and over that it is now almost impossible to perceive. It once was one and still is what it was. That one era which brought truth to illusion, infinity to time, and life to death, was all you ever made. Your whole world rests upon it. Everything you see reflects it, and every special relationship that you have ever made is part of it. In other words, ideas leave not their source. There was only one era, and it once was one and still is what it was. One era. Despite the seeming projection into the world that fragmented into billions and billions of pieces spread over 15 or 16 or 17 billions of years. But it has never left its source, and everything that happens in the world is a part of that one era. Which means that there are no special relationships in the world. How could there be? There is no world. There's only one special relationship. The decision-making mind's identification with the ego. That's it. One special relationship. There's only one holy relationship. The decision-making mind's undoing its mistaken choice and now identifying with the Holy Spirit's atonement principle, that the separation never happened. But because we think we're bodies, we have projected out the mind's single decision for God or the ego and made a world of multiplicity, what the Hindus call multiplicity, where it now appears as if we have multiple special relationships in form. Remember, the special relationship is the triumph of form over content. The content is I choose the ego or the Holy Spirit, and in this case, of course, I chose the ego if I'm dealing with special relationships. But because we think we're bodies, the Course presents itself, quote, in the condition in which we think we are. That's why the Course appears to be teaching that we forgive our special relationships, our special partners. In fact, the whole Course seems to be saying that, and in one sense it is. Because we think we're bodies. So there's that important line that says, you cannot even think of God without a body, or in some form you think you recognize. That's why the Course talks about God as if he were a person. Now that's blasphemous to the teaching of the Course. What's even more blasphemous is not only is God a person, he has a body. He has hands, he has arms, he has the mouth through which the Holy Spirit speaks, and he has eyes with tear ducts. Because the Course says he weeps. Now, how could that be? It can't be. So why does the Course talk that way? Because we think we're bodies, and we cannot even think of God without a body, or in some form we think we recognize. We cannot think of A Course in Miracles without thinking of it as a book. or in some form we think we recognize. Hell, it's not a book. There are no books. This is an expression in form of our decision to become right-minded, which means our decision to forgive our sin, the sin of trusting in the ego and choosing the ego. But because we think we're bodies and we think we're on a journey, because we think we are wallowing in the darkness of the despairing existence of living in this world, we have taken the expression in form, the special agent of spirituality we call A Course in Miracles, and we don't realize that this is only giving form to our mind's desire. Our mind's desire to go home, to get on the right-minded horse that will take us home, instead of the wrong-minded horse that is going nowhere because it dropped dead in the starting gate, right from the get-go. But because I think I'm a body, I think I need a form I could relate to. That's called the Course in Miracles. So when people form a special relationship with the Course in Miracles, or a special relationship with Jesus, or the Holy Spirit, or their Course in Miracles group, they're missing the whole point. They're confusing form and content. They're choosing the special relationship as their God that is the triumph of form over content. So people think if they memorize the metaphysics and they get it straight, they can become teachers of A Course in Miracles. And they were in such a rush to become that their eyes glided over the very first page of the teacher's manual that says, to teach is to demonstrate. Which means Jesus has no concern with the form. You teach the truth of A Course in Miracles by demonstrating it. What does it mean to demonstrate it? You give no power over the ego or the body to affect your peace. Regardless what goes on around you, you're peaceful. You don't have to correct people. You don't have to teach people. You don't have to do anything. You just choose to let go of your ego, and the love that is in you will express itself in whatever form is helpful. But you need do nothing. You know, there's that important section in chapter 9 called the correction of error, in which Jesus really makes the point to us that you don't correct someone's errors. His ego may be wrong, he said, but your job is still to tell him that he's right. And you tell him he's right by not judging him, by not demanding he be as wise as you are. So what if he doesn't understand the metaphysics of the Course? So, do you think understanding the metaphysics of the Course will bring you to heaven? You know, it may give you an exam, an A on an exam that A Course in Miracles teacher gives you. What will bring you to heaven is to be kind, to give up judgment, to be merciful to all people without exception. That will take you home. You know, I always quote the line from chapter 11 that where Jesus says, "Teach not that I died in vain. Teach rather that I did not die by demonstrating that I live in you." So what does that mean, to demonstrate that he lives in us? If he's the symbol, the right-minded symbol of God's love, a love that's not of this world, then the way you demonstrate that his teaching is true is to let his love extend itself through you, which you can't do if you're judging. It can't do if you're separating yourself out from other people. It can only do that by you being kind, by you being gentle, by you not feeling you have to correct people's errors, that you to grab them by the nape of the neck and drag them home. You're kind because you're not taken in by the lies of the world. You're not confused by the form. You always hear the content. If a person chooses his ego, he's calling out for the love that would show him he's wrong. If he's right-minded and expressing love, you join with him in that love. That's what you hear. There's that very, very important passage, chapter 24, which again is I said, was the last place in the Course we have a full-blown discussion of specialness. Page 503. No, I'm sorry, 502 at the bottom of the page. Now remember, to be special means you accentuate differences. You believe differences among people are significant. You believe there's a hierarchy of illusion. That's what specialness is. All right, so paragraph 4, the bottom of page 502 in the text. You are not special if you think you are, which means you think you're different from other people. You think you're God's gift to A Course in Miracles, or God's gift to Christianity, or God's gift to the world, or God's gift to this person. You are not special if you think you are, and would defend your specialness against the truth of what you really are. How can you know the truth? What are we really? What is the truth about us? We are part of perfect oneness. And in the illusion, we are a reflection of perfect oneness. That is the truth about us. And what does that mean? If I am part of a perfect oneness, and I'm a reflection of perfect oneness, you must be too. Because there's only one God who has but one Son. And his name ain't Jesus. The one Son is all of us, unfragmented. The problem that arose was students of A Course in Miracles in the first year didn't read this. Right? And so that necessitated Jesus dictating another a pamphlet to Helen Hodges, the second pamphlet to Helen, 1 year after the course was completed. And most of you know, because I've spoken about this a lot, that pamphlet is a song of prayer. And the Song of Prayer is a wonderful summary of everything in the Course and answers the problems of specialness. It has 3 chapters: prayer, forgiveness, and healing. Each chapter has the same structure. First, talking about what prayer, forgiveness, and healing are not, and then what they truly are. And what all 3 have in common, prayer, forgiveness, and healing, they're really different ways of saying the same thing. They're all about differences. They're all about specifics. They're all about being special. Now, why did that pamphlet come? It came because within the first year, forget about the first 35 years, the first year people were getting this all mixed up. They were making themselves Course in Miracles teachers. They were making themselves special. They'll walk around healing people. They were training teachers, giving out certificates. They were doing all kinds of things. Nobody bothered to read sentence 2. If you think you are special and would defend your specialness against the truth of what you really are, how can you know the truth? They define the truth. I am different. I am special. I have a God-given function. I am a Course in Miracles teacher. No different from people proclaiming the gospel and saying, I have a function that Jesus has given me. I'm different, I'm special, I'm unique. Whenever you hear anybody making the differences real and believing that their role, we all have roles, but that their role is better than anyone else's, run like hell. But there's purpose behind everything. There's method in the ego's madness. Because if you defend your specialness, how can you know the truth? And the truth is that we are the same. Not in bodies, not in abilities, not in talents, but we have the same split mind. The same love that the resplendent figure of Jesus that the world saw, not the biblical Jesus, that same love is in everyone. We all have that radiant resplendence. That doorway that opens up into the light of heaven. We all have that. Everyone. You know, I frequently tell people, you know, at some point or other, reread the Course and write down or underline every single time the word all or every appears, or synonyms to that. You'll be astounded how often those words appear. That's the all-inclusiveness that I mentioned earlier this morning. That's right at the beginning. I think it's in section 3 of the first chapter. God's specialness is all-inclusive. Jesus says, all my brothers are special. Meaning we're not different. Our bodies are different, but what's the big deal about a different body? What's the difference about having a great brain with an IQ of 180. That won't get you home. What will get you home is realizing you're a mind. And what helps you realize you're a mind is not to take the ego specialness seriously, not to take the ego's perception, judgments of differentiation seriously. Use your perception of differences to bring you back to the sameness. Most of you know the passage that was written at New Year's, at the end of chapter 15. Make this year different